Hello, everyone, parents and families, to our last Zoom session before the big day when you get to campus to get to know us and see us in person and drop off your kids. I'm so delighted that you are here with us. We have campus leaders also joining us. Welcome to Maritime and Keelhauler family. My name is Vanita Dillon, and I'm the timeline coordinator for Maritime, and also have the pleasure of being the parent liaison, which is my favorite part of my job. I just wanted to cover a couple of housekeeping items before presenting today's guests, who are two vice presidents and the dean of cadets. But before that, I just wanted to remind everyone to keep their devices on mute throughout the introductions. Today's session will be a little bit different than the last few. I think we're going to hear a little bit from our vice presidents and dean, and then they will open it up immediately for Q&A. So until they're done, keep your devices on mute. Try and put your questions in chat that I will read out. And as always, we leave the last few minutes of the hour for any parent who's driving or traveling and can't use chat and would like to unmute and ask their question verbally. I think we're all set for the 31st to receive you and your cadets, so we're really excited about that. If after this call you have any last minute questions, please don't hesitate to email us at orientation@csun.edu or to me directly. During the call, I will once again put my contact information in chat so you have it. And with that, I would like to invite my great boss here, Kathleen McMahon, who's the Vice President of Cadets, Development and Leadership, and popcorn to her, and she's going to take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanita, and welcome to all the parents.
You're muted.
Oh. It doesn't, can you hear me now? Okay, great. Sorry about that. Welcome to all the parents. The fact that you're showing up for this session means that you are very supportive and interested in your student success. So that's a really great sign, and we're happy to have you here in this session. I'd like to introduce myself. Again, my name is Kathleen McMahon, and I serve as the Vice President for Cadet Leadership and Development, which is similar to a title of Vice President for Student Affairs on another campus. And I oversee most of the areas that fall outside the classroom that have to do with student life. So things like health services, career services, residence life, housing, all the things that happen outside the classroom, the programming, the counseling, the student engagement. And so, you know, our whole area is here to support the academic environment and making sure that the cadet life is supporting their mental health, their well-being, their sense of adventure, that we have a stimulating campus environment. And so that's what we strive to do every day. I'll be giving another presentation at orientation. So hopefully on the 31st, when you drop off your cadet, you will meet us, we'll meet you and you'll meet us again. And so I don't want to duplicate that session, but I'll just share a little bit about me since you're here tonight. I've been at Cal Maritime for 1 year. And what drew me here is this specific program that focuses on developing young adult leaders that will lead in our global maritime and other industries. So leadership is a passion of mine. And the fact that leadership is built into the program at Cal Maritime for every single cadet, to me, is really inspiring. And I love that. And we can always talk more about how leadership is infused throughout the program and the curriculum. Before I came to Cal Maritime, I've worked at publics and privates on the East Coast, on the West Coast, large and small schools. I most recently came from Cal Poly SLO, so I'm familiar with the CSU system. And I'm really happy to be in a small academy environment. And one little tidbit for you to know is that I live on campus. So I'm intimately aware of campus life and what goes on here at all hours of the day. And the cadets get to see me at all hours of the day as well. So that's just a fun tidbit. And I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has or go into any specific areas that you'd like to hear more about. But with that, I think I will pass it over to the Provost, Dr. Lori Schroeder.
Good evening, everybody. It's great to have you all here with us, and I'd like to add my welcome to those you've had already. I oversee all of academic affairs, and as well as the Office of Admission and the Registrar. So that encompasses quite a bit, and I imagine you have some questions concerning your son or daughter's future academic success. I want to tell you that I have been a career-long educator. I was a classroom professor for many years before moving into administration. So I am invested in the success of our students. I spent my entire career at small institutions, although all of them were private before I came to Cal Maritime. And I love the small institution. One of the things that drew me to Cal Maritime is the really unique intersection of its being a university, so invested in the intellectual life and the personal growth of all the students, all the cadets, at the same time that it's an academy and it is focused on the professional success, the post-college career launch aspect of our graduates. So I have throughout my career really loved the institutions that really see that don't buy that it's an either or, that there really is a both and to college education that takes these two forms. So I'll be giving some presentations to the students when they come, and I will remind them, you should know about the rigors of our education. It is, we take academics seriously at Cal Maritime, and over the many years that I've served as a professor and as an advisor, I tend to, it always seems to be that there are the students who overestimate how successful they will be in the classroom, maybe based on high school success. And there are those who underestimate how good they really are. So you never really know. And I imagine also, as a parent of 3 daughters who went through college, I know there's that question mark you have, about how will my son or daughter move through the academic program? Will there be struggles? One of the things I think we're really great about at Cal Maritime is really urging our students to advocate for themselves when they need academic support. So we're going to really call them out and make sure that they know that they've got support and they can turn to their faculty for it. The faculty who teach here have come here because they like that the small environment. They love the mission. And so we have faculty who are truly invested in the success of our students. And so you should take that assurance away with you as well. I'm going to stop there and wait to hear what questions you have.
With that, go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn, and thank you to Dr. McMahon and Provost Schroeder. I think you've given the perfect description of who we are and what we value. A little bit of background on myself and my role. My name is Dr. Mac Griswold. I am the Dean of Cadets, and as Dr. McMahon said, some of you may be more familiar with a Dean of Students role. And I think that role carries a little bit of perception sometimes that It is somebody that it's an office that you don't want to wind up in as a student, when the reality is this role really is a holistic support service. We are working with cadets when potentially they are struggling a little bit, and that could be everything from a physical injury that required some time off from classes or hospitalization to even just basic struggles of I'm not feeling ready for my classes. I'm not doing as well as I could be. So I work with a team under Dr. McMahon. I have responsibilities in residential life, our student programming board, the Associated Students, an educational opportunity program. Student conduct is a part of my portfolio. And then finally, community engagement. These are the respective offices that I work with. And then I'm going to talk about some broader areas of responsibility that cover all of the division and touch different aspects of academic life as well. But my background is similar in terms of Dr. McMahon's. I've worked at institutions large and small, public and private, everywhere from the East Coast in Connecticut down to the Gulf Coast and Texas and Alabama shortly before I came here. So California is new for me, but I'm enjoying my time here already. And the last 5 weeks have been a wonderful introduction to the cadet life on campus, what their aspirations are, and really who they hope to become in their future lives. I approach my work really with 3 mindsets. And as I've had conversations with Provost Schroeder and Dr. McMahon, it's wonderful to see that there's a common mindset here, that in addition to addressing all of our cadets' needs and teaching them about self-advocacy, and we serve as advocates for them, we are focused on what is their persistence? How do we make sure that they stay at the institution, not just enter, but persist from year to year, and are making suitable academic progress along the way. So persistence year to year and high academic progress. So those 2 pieces, we're making sure they're getting academic support, but also support in all aspects of their lives. And finally, persistence to graduation, that final goal. And for many of our cadets, persistence to licensure. So we want to make sure it's not just time here on campus, but it's well-spent time that's valuable for them and their intellectual development and who they are as humans and citizens. So I look forward to your questions and learning a little bit more about your cadets. Again, I will also be available as you arrive to campus. As we go through some questions, I'll probably add a bit more about the work that I'll be doing with first-year experience as that relates to your cadets, and also diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus. But I will take a bit of a break and turn it over to Ms. Dillon. And if there are questions from the group, we can start to address those.
You know, Vanita, there's a couple of things I'd like to add, if that's all right. In thinking about young adults transition to college, I think we have a really special program here that I want to talk to you all about, because this is a big transition for you all and also for your students. So what makes us really unique is this program where all the students are part of the Corps of Cadets. And if you've been attending these other sessions, you've had a session with the Commandant's office, and you've learned about how they attend formation, how they have watch standing responsibilities, how they wear uniforms, and we have uniform and grooming standards. And then you probably heard about the different programs on campus, like the Edwards Leadership Program, that is a series of seminars about developing leadership. But our leadership program really expands beyond that. And the structure of the academy life is really supportive for young adult development. And, many young people, they're in high school and they have a structured life and it works. And then they get to college and it's all free time, and they have classes and they can go or not go, depending on whether the faculty takes attendance, and they can join a club or not join a club. And there's a lot of freedom of choice, which is important for their development. But we offer this underlying structure with the Corps of Cadets and these responsibilities that teach accountability, self-respect, leadership. And in my mind, it's really an incredible opportunity for young people to develop in a structured environment. And what I've learned from many of the cadets that are successful here is that it really works for them. So even if they complain about it, and I don't blame them, formation at 7:20, 3 days a week is a lot. But for many that I've talked with, they say that when we don't have it, they miss it. And that this structure helps them be on the ball and accountable and get more things done. So I just sort of plant that seed because it will be a big transition, but it's kind of like scaffolding that holds young people together with a program. And it's very intentional and deliberate. And, some may have bumps along the way. And as Dean Griswold said, we're here to support, and we expect those bumps, and we're going to advocate and support as that happens. But we really believe that this highly structured program helps develop stronger professionals and leaders upon graduation. Thanks for letting me add that.
Absolutely. I'm not seeing very many questions other than Dave agreeing with you that all the reasons you just pointed out is why he thinks it's the best place for his son. If parents want to unmute and ask questions verbally, that's perfectly okay to do as well. And if there are questions with regard to what to expect on the 31st, we are happy to take those as well. One of the big ones that we've heard over the course of August is, can we get into your cadets room? And the answer to that is yes. As long as it's a couple of people, you can get into the cadets rooms at some point during your day 31st. I have something that says I missed first formation 6 days a week and at 6 o'clock. But it was a different kind of college age kid. So yes, it's hard on our kids to show up at 7 o'clock, cadets to show up at 7 o'clock, but it's a good thing for them. Yes, most certainly. Discipline.
I'd like to offer a reminder for everyone that the CSU has mandated the vaccine for all incoming students. So, and returning. So for all students in the CSU system, the vaccine is a mandate. And in order to be in compliance, all students have to upload their vaccination report or request an exemption, which can be medical or religious. And the deadline for that to happen is August 31st. And so if for some reason your student has not done that yet, please make sure they do that tonight. It's very important. We're making sure everybody has it complete, and cadets will not be able to move in on Tuesday unless they've completed that.
I think you have a stat that says something like 98% of them have already complied. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have a really great compliance rate. We'll know exactly on August 31st where we're at with the incoming cadets. The returning cadets, many of them got vaccinated last spring on our campus. And if they didn't, they're going to be uploading their records. And we'll know after the 31st. But yeah, we're going to have a very strong compliance rate.
Thank you for that, Dean Griswold. I also, along the same lines, if your student has not uploaded a photograph for their Ford Pass, which is their ID card to get access to their rooms, please remind them to do that. We're still missing a few, so please check with your student on that. And the same goes for a fitting sheet for their uniforms. We have a handful of students who are missing their fitting sheets. So please be sure to remind your cadet to take care of that if they haven't done so already. I have a question about the vaccine card. Will the student receive a receipt so that they know how that you got the photos of their vaccine card?
I can address that one. The health center has been responding as cadets submit that information. So if your son or daughter did not receive the confirmation, please feel free to reach out to health center again or touch base with me and I can help facilitate that process. I'll drop my email into the chat as well.
Next question is email okay for vaccine cards? It is. These parent-family videos, orientation topics are very informative and useful. I've referred other family members to check out the particular session when they mention an issue. Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. I'm glad that they were helpful.
I have a question on the pictures and all the stuff that needs to get done. There's the Cal Maritime Student Center, right, where their classes are posted and how much money they owe and all that kind of stuff. There's a to-do list there. If it says no to-dos, then everything should be taken care of, right? I mean, is anything that would need to be required that doesn't show up in the to-do list?
No, it's exactly that list. If your cadet has completed that list, we're good.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure the vaccination report is on that because that's a list from other years, but we've already covered that.
The question regarding orientation week uniform, is it part of CBAG or can we purchase it at the bookstore? Your orientation uniform is a PT uniform and it's included in the CBAG. So when your cadet arrives into their room on the 31st, their CBAG will be actually be a box, but it'll be in their room and they'll have an opportunity to pull out their PT gear to put on for the rest of the afternoon. However, if you're helping your cadet pack, please make sure that their swim gear is easily accessible in their belongings, because most of our students arriving on the 31st also have a swim assessment and they need to have access to their swim gear easily so they can go from one appointment to the other. So just keep that in mind. Question for move-in day. How long does my cadet have for dinner after the capping ceremony? He is not a cadet connection participant. Yes, so our commandants would like for you to bring back your cadet by 9 p.m. to secure the campus. So that's what's on their schedule and is on your schedule when you arrive on campus. So you could leave around 5 o'clock, but be back by 9.
And just to be clear, the shuttles back to Lot O will run until 7 p.m. that night. So if you will need a ride back up to the Lot O at the top of campus, that will be a little bit earlier.
Yeah. What are the ideal shoes for daily cadet uniform? So cadet uniforms require them to be in Bates if they're in their khakis. But if they're going to be walking around, any pair of sneakers would do, and they're open to bring any kind of sneakers for their PT gear as well, which is what they're going to be wearing for their entire orientation week. Next question is regarding books. Does the bookstore offer used books or books on PDF when books are required for a class? Would the provost like that one?
Yeah, I'm not sure I know the answer to that. I believe there are used books in the bookstore, but I can't say for certain. I can take, well, Kathleen, do you know?
I do not know. I assume that there are some used books for some classes and some and others that don't have them.
You know, yeah, and from years of teaching, I know also that sometimes there are books that are super expensive that you don't necessarily need. Sometimes you don't need them until the 3rd week or the 4th week, and it's a good idea. It's a good practice for your cadet to ask the professor, you know, and sometimes you can order those books a different way for less cost. And I used to always advise my students to take advantage of that if they could. So if there are not used copies there might be another way to think about cost savings that, but I would always urge the student to check with the faculty member. You don't want to get in a situation where you're going to class and you can't do the assignment because you don't have the book. I also understand that all of our course texts are available in the library. So that's another resource for tiding you over if you don't have the book right out of the gate. They're on reserve there.
The bookstore will sometimes have used books depending on what the return rate was from the previous classes and what's changed between selected books by the professor. So they can take check with the bookstore. Next question is about a swim assessment on September 3. That is not a typo. We couldn't do all 300 on one day, so we've spread them out throughout the week. Does the group have any updated info regarding sailing coach search?
Yeah, I added that in the chat. We are in the recruitment stage and the position is posted. So we are actively looking and talking to folks who are interested and qualified. So if you are in sailing communities and know anybody, please point them to our website because the position is posted there.
Thank you. PT is physical training, and they don't have any subscribed training times or physical trainings on a regular basis, but that's just what we're calling the uniform that they're going to be wearing on throughout orientation. The bookstore doesn't seem to have books assigned to my son's classes. Are they just behind? If they don't have them, how do we get them? It could be a function of just availability of the selected books from outside or from the request from the faculty member. Provost, do you have any other insight on that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't give you a universal answer to what might be at work here, but it's also possible that, I mean, it could be that it's a late order, but it could also be, we're making an effort at open source textbooks. So it could be that that's a class where there's availability online for a particular text and that the cadet will find out on first day of class. So I can't speak, I just don't know which of those scenarios it might be, but I wouldn't worry too much about it because everyone will be in the same situation and the faculty member surely knows that.
I had assumed that there may be some open source stuff going on, but it's every single subject. The only thing they have is the lab book for chemistry. No other subjects. So it's just weird that all of them fall into the category of you can't do it. So trying to order it online, right? You can't go into their webpage doing that. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Other than that one lab book for $11 or $16.
I'll take a note of it, Dave, and I'll reach out to the bookstore manager to find out if there's a specific reason or what we can do to be better prepared.
Yeah, that'd be great. And it's the engineering section 4 for sure, where it came up at, but it's probably not limited to just the engineering section 4. So
got it. Thank you. During orientation, do cadets need to wear khakis and black shoes? On the last day of orientation, September 6th, there is a formal formation and a Commandant's Cup ceremony, and they will be required to be in full khakis at that time. There's a small group of some cadets with swim assessment scheduled for that evening, 7 to 9 p.m. So not like, okay. Could you repeat the shoes needed for dress uniform? It's included in their sea bag, so you don't need to be worried, Tracy. It's called Bates. They're called Bates. They're black leather shoes. When we arrive on campus, will there be specific direction to guide us where to go? Yes, you will be pulling up into Lot O, and there will be plenty of folks to help you. We recommend that you check with your student which res hall they're going into and should be arriving around the time that is assigned to them and go directly to that location. If you arrive a little bit early, you can park in lot O and walk into the adjacent building called Physical Education and Aquatic Center. We call it PIAC. There's a campus fair in there for you to meet with some of our service providers here on campus and as well in the community. And we can direct you from there what's the best way to get to the res halls or swim assessment and such, if in case you're early. What is the basic schedule on the 31st other than move-in and swim assessment? How long should parents plan on being at campus? Does anyone else want to take that?
Sure. So after the things that Vanita has just laid out in terms of move-in and the swim assessment and the resource fair, which we hope you will spend some time at getting to know resources in the community, we do have a welcome session. And I'm just going to look at my calendar to know the exact time. So that's at 2 o'clock. We hope that you will start coming around to a parent reception. And then at 3 o'clock, we have an orientation session for you all. Well, where it will be myself and the provost, President Cropper, Captain Bakota, where we will welcome you all and introduce you to ourselves and our program. And then after that, we have a very special event called the capping ceremony that is very important for you to be at. It's just very special and you would not want to miss it. So I think that is over by 5 p.m. And then you're free to get dinner with your cadet or to depart, depending on what works best for your schedule. Did I do that right, Vanita?
Absolutely. Thank you. Next question is if your kid is moving in at 7 and swimming is at 8, is that enough time? Yes, you will have enough time to put your belongings in your room and then get to swimming at PIAC. Your student might not get a chance to unpack everything, but they'll have time after 8, about 8:30, they'll be done with their swim assessment. And then they can get back into their room and you can join them as well to get them set up. Again, we're allowing only 2 people with each student to get in. And also you have to be fully masked when you are inside the building.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Up until today, I think it was maybe you can go in. It sounds like you can have 2 people now.
You can bring 2 people in.
I just want to verify. Thank you very much.
My cadet emailed tutoring services and Matthew Tenner is out of office. You got a message. Who's taking over the tutoring department?
I can speak to that. Yes, Matt Tenner very recently stepped down. And so we have a vacant position there. And I don't know exactly where our search stands at the moment, but we are going to have somebody in place there next week. I just don't remember exactly. I don't know that we have entirely figured out who's going to field those queries, but I can drop into the chat the registrar's email. She is the one who oversees the tutoring center, so she could probably help your son or daughter with some answers. I guess it would depend on what the reason for the email was. If it's an attempt to set up appointments or something of that sort, I think there's plenty of time still to do that. But if this is something that is making your son or daughter anxious, then we want to try to get you some answers. So I'll drop that email address in the chat.
Thank you.
That's, if I may, there's you may find that if your son or daughter immediately upon arrival is having some concerns, there are some individual tutoring through departments that they may be able to access. And if it's simply that there's anxiety over academic preparation and study skills, our academic advisors do frequently run workshops on time management, note-taking, so there will be preparation to help them even if they don't need content or class-specific tutoring at that moment. We're ready to help them with their academic preparation.
Thank you. Is it recommended to purchase school supplies before arriving on campus, or best to be purchased on campus? If I remember, this was a question that came up when the university advisors were on a session, and it was recommended that you don't need to bring a lot of supplies with you. Get here, get to know your faculty and their expectations, and find out exactly what your needs are instead of packing every possible thing and bringing it with you. That's what I recall the advisors recommending. Is there any other advice from the group?
I'll just add that, the first year cadets don't have cars on campus. There will be a Target trip, but I think it's pretty early on. And so then the other resource would be the bookstore. I would bring the basics because you're not really sure when your cadet's going to get to a supply store. So whatever they're used to, like an appointment book or a year-long calendar, so they can keep track of when their assessments are, their exams, and their schedule, when they have watch. That would be something really good to show up with, along with basic, pens, pencils, some notebooks. But as Vanita said, you don't want them to go too far overboard because it may not be relevant to the courses they're taking.
And on the flip side of this, I know you would want to buy everything for your cadet online. Just be mindful that it takes about a week for them to settle into their rooms and be assigned their mail box number. So you're not going to be able to start sending packages to them right away. They have to first get their number, share that with you, and that's when the Amazon journey can begin. Until then, you'll have to, kind of sit tight on that. And after that, just be mindful that all the cadets are going to start to get packages, and there can sometimes be a backlog. So your cadet will need to be patient and might need to check more than once for that pickup. I just want to lay that out there. Anything else?
If I could jump back briefly to the question about 7 a.m. move-in and the 8 a.m. swimming assessment. Check-in does begin, or move-in does begin at 7 a.m. But I want to encourage you to double check the letter. There are assigned move-in slots. This is so that we can control the flow of traffic and not have the residence halls too overwhelmed at any given time. So when they receive their housing assignment, it will have an assigned check-in. If they, in some rare cases, they may have their swimming assessment before their move-in time. So they may want to have a backpack ready just to do that up at the PIAC and then move in after that. And I'll add, as my first time at this institution looking at move-in, I have to tell you, the residence life staff has impressed me with the planning for this and the logistics. When cadets move in with just their sea bag and a few other items, we have residence hall advisors that are helping with that move-in process. So they're going to meet your cadets at the curb and be ready to move in. It actually is a fairly quick process. So don't worry about that timing. Just do be sure to check that letter for their housing assignment for their assigned move-in time.
And of course, the other reason for managing how many people are in each of the res halls at any given time is COVID related also. How many people, family members, are allowed for capping ceremony? Can grandparents come along?
Yes. This is outside, it's a large space, and everybody is welcome.
Thank you.
Bring your camera.
And a Kleenex.
Yes.
I'll have those. I'll have plenty of Kleenex available.
I will take advantage of the brief lull. And I said I would talk a little bit about first year experience. I wanted to make sure first and foremost, we got to your questions. But I think a common piece that I hear some questions about, what is this first year experience? What does it mean? Is it a class? What does it look like? So first year experience is a best practice in higher education these days, where we build a community of support in addition to their academic community. So that is partly the core. It is partly their peer leadership that helps run this. And in our model, which every institution has something a little bit different, we look at our first year experience program as three components. The first is a series of seminars that they attend with topics ranging from academic skills to understanding the value of watch standing, to our bystander intervention training, to help them really build a strong community that supports them, but also supports each other. It's important the cadets learn very early in their experience here that everybody relies on each other. On the ship you do, and if you're in an industry that you're not on a ship, but in the maritime world, you're still going to have that need to depend on all those around you. So we start with that very, very early. So that series of seminars will happen throughout the first semester. There's also some academic integration of study skills into first year coursework. And finally, some peer mentoring that happens with specific populations on our campus that we know need a little bit of additional support. So that is peer-led. It actually was developed by cadets who stepped up into leadership and said, I would like to be able to provide this to my peers to know that they're getting a little extra attention. So you may hear your cadets talk about, well, I went to my first year experience course this week, my seminar this week, and those are co-led by staff from across our division, but also the cadet leaders. So it's really a special component of the first year here at Cal Maritime.
Thank you for your response, Provost, on admissions being open tomorrow.
Furnace is leaking. Oh,
I'm gonna put everyone on mute real quick.
Maybe one thing I could mention is when you might come back for another visit, if you're thinking about planning. We do encourage you to help with their transition, to drop them off and give them time to adjust before you have another visit. And that can be hard because sometimes you want to check in, but we have structured Parent and Family Weekend to be October 1st through the 3rd. And we encourage you to make that your first visit back after drop off. It's nicely planned, it's a month later, and that would be the perfect time to have another visit and check in. And ideally not before then, so that they have time to really get acclimated on their own and start navigating things on their own.
Could you also mention about Thanksgiving and winter break and academic calendar? I know some parents are really excited about having their cadet come back for the holidays. Could the provost or you talk about that?
Well, they have, the calendar is posted online. I believe that's easily accessible. So they have the Thursday and Friday of Thanksgiving break off. And then the last day of exams is December 21st. We're going a little further than we normally would this year. It had to do with adjusting things around cruise this summer and COVID. But anyway, those are the important dates, I think, that you probably want to know. It depends on the individual cadet in terms of what their final exam schedule will be, and they don't have that just yet. They will be getting that later. So it's, you'll have to check with them once they know more about their final exam schedule. I would, so hold off if you're buying tickets or something until you're certain about that. But I don't know exactly when those get set, but they will be set. Not every class also gives a final. So it depends on the course. And that's why you want to ask your student to check.
I've added the link to where you could find the academic calendar.
And to the information that was shared about Parent and Family Weekend, I also want to mention a piece you may have heard, or your cadet may have mentioned as we get started. There is very much a theme on campus right now that coming out of COVID and the strains associated with that for so many students and families, the focus really was on resilience. We need to make it through this. We need to come together for it. And this reopening of campus now to all of our cadet population really is a renaissance for our community. It is bringing us back to life. It is a full, thriving, healthy, active community. And a piece of that is reviving some traditions. And Dr. McMahon already mentioned the importance and how moving the capping ceremony is in orientation. We're looking at building back in a pinning ceremony during Parent Family Weekend. So if you are able to travel to campus the second time this semester, and we know that's prohibitive for some families, but if you're able to join us, we are looking forward to your cadets being able to recognize the mentors that have helped them through that first month and a half on campus and really show their strength. So if you are able to join us, it's a wonderful weekend. Ms. Dillon has a great series of activities planned on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We hope you will be able to join us.
Thank you. Quick question about the proportion of students who stay on campus during Thanksgiving.
Sure, I can answer that. Because we are primarily drawing from California, I would say most of our cadets go home, but we do have cadets from out of state and from out of the country, and they can certainly stay here. So, we welcome them to stay, and we do put on a little Thanksgiving dinner on the Thursday of Thanksgiving. But many cadets want to take a break and go home and sleep a lot and eat a lot. So we respect that.
And in case there are students here during Thanksgiving, we look after them. We host a little event for them.
There was a question about courses that I wanted to go back to, if that's okay, Vanita.
I'm so sorry. Did I miss one?
Yeah, it's up a little bit. So it's referencing that we have chosen the courses and enrolled students for the fall semester, which does help alleviate some of the stress and burden of the first days. But then there's the question of how much latitude is there to choose classes in out years for class going on. And really the answer is it depends on the major. There are some majors that are really very bound to a particular curriculum. And I'm thinking specifically of the engineering majors. Others, there is more course selection allowed. There's a little bit in every single major, but less so in the engineering majors, and I think the MT as well. Anything that involves licensure is going to be pretty heavily prescriptive. Things have to go in a certain order and assessments have to happen in a certain order. I will say that one thing that's invaluable is that each and every major has a curriculum roadmap, which will help the student see at a glance what has to be completed, and it will give an ideal kind of lineup for how it would work for each and every semester. But there's room to move things if need be. So there is some flexibility, but again, it has to do. It's there more for some majors than for others. So that's it.
Thank you for catching that. I'm so sorry. On a campus, so I'm not, does anyone know about a platoon, Marine Corps platoon that runs a program on campus?
So I will drop into the chat some information we have on military options. I will defer to my colleagues on specifics of that, but we are looking at Navy Reserve with our Sea Lift Officer program, some Coast Guard options, as well as Navy ROTC and Air Force ROTC. I encourage you, if your cadet is considering those programs, to look carefully through those materials. There are some majors that it would be prohibitive depending on the course load that they have in their major. But so I'm not sure about the Marine Corps Platoon Leaders Program. So maybe take a glance at that while we're on this call. And if there's a specific one, we might be able to address your question.
Thank you. I'm not aware of such a program, and we do often have young cadets who are part of sea training, and maybe that's what you saw. But and as far as the roadmaps that the provost spoke about could be found here, I just added that link as well.
I think we wore them out.
Yes, looks like it.
I'll share something. So parents, we're in this together. This weekend, I'm taking my daughter to Boston to move into her residence hall. And I have a move-in time Sunday morning at 8 a.m. And it's going to be a thing. And I'm excited, and so is she. But if you have an experience you want to share with me afterwards, we can swap stories.
I also, I'll add something too. I'll just say that, you know, I have 3 girls who grew up with a mom who was always in academia. And yet one of my children wanted to go home after the first day on campus. She had such anxiety that she felt that she couldn't stay. She pleaded with me. And I just want all of you, I ended up talking her into staying one night, and then eventually it became a week, and she graduated last year. So it all has a happy ending. But I just want you to know that we know these things do happen, and should it happen, you shouldn't hesitate for a moment to reach out to one of us, especially my colleagues in cadet leadership and development. They know how to work with students who have some kind of anxiety, but this is an issue that I myself experienced, so I wanted to share.
How big is the incoming class?
As of today, we were over 300, but I believe we're down to 291.
They will have lots of friends.
Yeah, we're so excited to have your sons and daughters come. You know, we're just beaming because we've all had this 1.5 years of COVID, right? So we're just excited for this to be real.
And we will be taking a lot of precautions to keep the campus safe and remaining open. But we will need all of our cadets to be on their best behavior with the COVID protocols, you know, such as wearing a mask indoors at all times and not having large gatherings. You know, we are asking for them to adapt different behaviors so that we keep the pandemic off campus. And we will be doing testing for those that are not vaccinated, and anybody else that would like to be tested will have an opportunity to be tested. So we're ready. We've got a lot of protocols in place, but it is a fluid situation, and we will be fluid with it.
Thank you. All right, parents, anyone who was not able to add their questions in chat and would like to unmute and ask their questions, this is the best time to do that. We're getting some thank yous. We need good luck next week. Yes, for the weather to not get too hot and traffic to work, and we're prepared. Do you video that capping? I can't be there. Yes. Go ahead.
I think we have developed a process of doing that and then posting it. Is it on your website?
I think we might be able to arrange a live streaming. I'm not sure yet, but we would definitely put any videos on the Keelhauler family page on Facebook. If some of you who are not on that page, please go ahead and send a request. When you ask to join the group, you have to let me know your cadet's name and their major. Yes, we'll work on, I think we're gonna have a live stream, but we'll keep you posted. Parting question on laundry. What type of detergent is recommended?
I like Trader Joe's.
Whatever smells the best. When cadets are on the ship, which they're not going to be this year, we provide the detergent because it has to meet certain criteria. But other than that, it's your cadet's choice. What were the dates of the parent weekend? October 1 to 3. It's the first weekend in October, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Either would be fine, liquid or Tide Pods. These days, it's become so much easier to have the pod and just toss it in. Do we have any idea of next year's cruises, the time frames?
I don't know that we do, Kathleen.
Not that.
Yeah, I haven't heard. There will be just one, though. There will not be two.
We had 2 cruises this year to catch up for 2020, the year that we all want to go away.
And I know this doesn't address it directly, but the link to the academic calendar page, you may want to bookmark that for future reference. It will be updated consistently so you can see semesters ahead as soon as that's approved by faculty leadership. And it will get posted up there with the new calendars as you go through your time here.
Do we know where the cruise might be next year? Do we have any idea of what part of the world it might be the ship might be headed to?
I don't think that's been decided yet. I think that happens into the academic year.
Here's another one for you, Provost. Will there be information about 2022 Summer Study Abroad and Maritime Exchanges program?
There will be information, but I don't, at move-in time, I doubt that. No, I don't believe that's ready to go yet. So we'll have to keep you posted on that when we get it.
Thank you. Right, we're at 6:27 and always want to respect everybody's time and end on time. So if there are any last minute questions that you need to ask verbally or put in chat, please do so now. But I do ask all of you to take just a moment and unmute and give our presenters today a warm round of applause.
Good to see you all.
Thanks so much. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And with no other questions popping up, goodbye and see you soon. See you Tuesday. Yes.